That thing, I don't think it really matters, because it's not, I think it only matters if it's like right in front of your mouth. The exhibition is part of the outcome of this project that I've been working on since the end of 2010, which could really be seen as a bigger project actually with works that aren't included in this exhibition. But this one in particular focuses on two exchanges architecturally, two buildings, but then three institutional exchanges. So basically there is the Beurs van Berlage in Amsterdam, which is the historic stock and commodities exchange there that opened in 1903. And then the new Shenzhen Stock Exchange, which was under construction until 2013 when it opened in the autumn. They both had some kind of relationship to socialist thought or practice.
You should have seen the Amsterdam dock workers as they went up the stairs of the exchange, triumphantly on Monday morning, after winning the strike. They were not allowed through the great entrance, between the heavy round pillars, but they did get into the large space intended for trade. We have attempted to photograph the large moving mass of people. We did not succeed entirely, but the result is printable. If one attempts to find themselves in the photo, and cannot, it is not our fault.
China is still, at least officially, a socialist country, or it's run by a socialist party. So, the construction of this stock exchange and this really huge stock exchange at a moment where you don't really need this kind of big building to house actual trading activity was also something I thought was a little bit curious. Like, why build this huge symbol of capitalism? Why would essentially the Communist Party build this huge symbol of capitalism? I had been working on this stuff from like the end of 2005, 2006 was when I started looking at images of economy, and that was like this sort of broad project that I was thinking under that title, Images of Economy. So I was starting to kind of develop this archive of just contemporary, just newspapers of the day that I was reading when they had a photograph and a story about the economy. I would collect this and categorize it according to the way that it related to the text. So I had these different sorts of categories. And I mean, it was pretty limited, actually, the different ways in which these things are related, and the kind of images that are used are really repetitive. There's not so many different types. It's like images of building facades. That's a huge one, which would become very important for me later. Images of the heads of corporations who had just made a deal or something like that. Images of money. So there's really that's a standard press image that you will see. So in place of capital, this film from 2009, I had kind of gone back and found these images that William Henry Fox Talbot had shot in 1845 when the exchange had just been built. And he also at the same time was describing this phenomenon of the long exposure as in terms of its failure to capture movement. So it was seen as a kind of lack in the technology and something that would maybe be resolved in the future. Capital is something which only exists in movement. As soon as you stop it, it's not capital. It's something else. It's a process. And so for me, this failure that Talbot saw in these images of the Royal Exchange and others at the time were actually a kind of successful expression of this formula of Marx's.
The unsupported transit controversy revolved around the question of whether or not there is a moment which escapes human perception when all of the horse's hooves are simultaneously off the ground. In isolation, this moment would appear absurd, but in the context of the horse's overall movement as it trots along, this absurdity vanishes in the graceful movement one witnesses at the races. The challenge of the day, as Muybridge and Stanford saw it, was to figure out a way in which to isolate this seemingly absurd moment and capture it photographically.
It wasn't so long ago that we were, that standard definition was like the standard. Now HD is really like the standard, and now there is this 4K coming in, and and it's like, will there be then like 8K after that, or like how high resolution do we really need? How high resolution can we really like perceive? But it's part of this ideology, I think, of like technological progress as making things clearer, like that you can make a better image. And I think that especially like in relation to capitalism, this is quite interesting, because it's not the higher resolution the image, in a way, the less clear your relationship to capital becomes. I mean, you get this extremely fetishized image, and it does indeed become a kind of object on its own that becomes really sort of impenetrable, or you get stuck in the image, and you can no longer really analyze the place of that image in this broader system. So yeah, that's something I'm very concerned with. I don't, for me, I am not like celebrating this high resolution, but I am working with it.